Unlock the secrets of time. Welcome to our channel, where we open the dusty pages of history, discover the wisdom of ancient civilizations, and bring the forgotten stories of humanity to life. Who were the most important leaders of WWII? Adolf Hitler, Germany. As the leader of Nazi Germany, Hitler was the driving force behind the Axis powers. His aggressive expansionist policies and ideologies were central to the outbreak and continuation of the war. Winston Churchill, United Kingdom. Churchill served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during most of the war. His leadership and oratory skills were instrumental in rallying the British people and maintaining their morale during the darkest days of the conflict. Franklin D. Roosevelt, United States. As the President of the United States, Roosevelt led the country through most of World War II. He played a crucial role in building and maintaining the Allied coalition, providing material support to the Allies, and shaping the post-war world order. Joseph Stalin, Soviet Union. Stalin was the leader of the Soviet Union during World War II. Despite initial setbacks, his leadership in mobilizing the Soviet people and military, particularly during the Battle of Stalingrad and the subsequent Soviet counteroffensive, contributed significantly to the Allied victory in Europe. Emperor Hirohito, Japan. As the Emperor of Japan, Hirohito played a symbolic role in leading Japan during World War II. While his actual involvement in decision-making is debated, his symbolic significance as the head of state cannot be understated. Benito Mussolini, Italy. Mussolini was the fascist dictator of Italy and a key Axis leader. His alliance with Hitler and his aggressive policies in Europe and North Africa contributed to the Axis powers' early successes in the war. Adolf Hitler, born on April 20, 1889 in Austria, was the leader of Nazi Germany and one of the central figures of World War II. Names are more synonymous with World War II than Adolf Hitler. The German dictator was the mastermind that caused the war. His hatred of Jews, communism, and the economic ruin of Germany from the Versailles Treaty are only several reasons for his actions. Austrian by birth, Hitler ruled Germany in 1933 after being elected president. He brutally but skillfully consolidated his power quickly. Opponents were sent to concentration camps, jailed, or killed. Hitler believed Germans to be superior and deserved living space at the expense of others. His iron will and self-confidence appealed to many Germans living under challenging conditions. Germany's annexations and initial victories bolstered Hitler until the Allies' combined efforts led to the Nazis' defeat. Hitler committed suicide on April 30, 1945, as the Soviet armies surrounded Berlin. Rise to power. Hitler rose to power in Germany in the 1930s, becoming chancellor in 1933. He quickly consolidated his power, eventually becoming the Führer, leader of Nazi Germany. Nazi ideology. Hitler's ideology, Nazism, was characterized by extreme nationalism, racism, and anti-Semitism. He believed in the superiority of the Aryan race and sought to create a racially pure Germanic state. Expansionism. Hitler pursued a policy of aggressive expansionism, seeking to reclaim territory lost by Germany in World War I and to establish German dominance over Europe. This expansionist ambition was a significant factor leading to the outbreak of World War II. Invasion of Poland. Hitler's invasion of Poland in September 1939 triggered the start of World War II. This action led to Britain and France declaring war on Germany. Blitzkrieg tactics. Hitler's military strategy, known as Blitzkrieg, lightning war, emphasized the use of fast-moving, coordinated attacks to overwhelm and disorient the enemy. This strategy was employed with devastating effect in the early stages of the war. Holocaust. Under Hitler's regime, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, including Romani people, disabled individuals, Slavs, and political dissidents, occurred. This atrocity, known as the Holocaust, remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. Defeat and death. Despite initial successes, Hitler's military fortunes turned as the Allies gained momentum. Facing defeat, Hitler committed suicide in his bunker in Berlin on April 30, 1945, as Soviet forces closed in on the city. Legacy. Hitler's actions during World War II resulted in immense suffering and loss of life. His regime's crimes against humanity and aggressive militarism led to widespread devastation across Europe. The defeat of Nazi Germany marked the end of Hitler's reign, but left a lasting impact on global history and memory. Winston Churchill, United Kingdom. Churchill served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during most of the war. His leadership and oratory skills were instrumental in rallying the British people and maintaining their morale during the darkest days of the conflict. Winston Churchill was a towering figure in British politics and one of the most influential leaders during World War II. Here's some information about him. Prime Ministership. Churchill served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1940 to 1945, and again from 1951 to 1955. He led Britain through some of its darkest hours during World War II. War leadership. Churchill's leadership during the war was marked by his steadfast resolve and powerful oratory. His speeches, such as the famous "We shall fight on the beaches" address, inspired the British people to persevere in the face of adversity. Alliance with the Allies. Churchill played a crucial role in strengthening the alliance between Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, forming the Big Three that led the Allied effort against the Axis powers. Strategic decision-making. Churchill was actively involved in military strategy and decision-making, working closely with military leaders to plan Allied operations. He played a key role in shaping the Allied strategy in Europe and North Africa. Post-war vision. Beyond the war, Churchill was also instrumental in shaping the post-war world order. He advocated for the establishment of the United Nations and worked to maintain Britain's position as a global power. Political career. Churchill's political career spanned several decades, and he held various government positions both before and after World War II. He is widely regarded as one of the greatest statesmen in British history. Legacy. Churchill's leadership during World War II earned him international acclaim and solidified his status as a British national hero. His legacy as a wartime leader and his contributions to the Allied victory continue to be celebrated to this day. Franklin D. Roosevelt, United States. As the President of the United States, Roosevelt led the country through most of World War II. He played a crucial role in building and maintaining the Allied coalition, providing material support to the Allies, and shaping the post-war world order. Franklin D. Roosevelt, often abbreviated as FDR, was the 32nd President of the United States and played a pivotal role during World War II. Presidency. Roosevelt served as president from 1933 until his death in 1945, making him the longest-serving president in U.S. history. He was elected to an unprecedented 4 terms in office. New Deal. Before the war, Roosevelt implemented the New Deal, a series of programs and reforms aimed at addressing the economic challenges of the Great Depression. These initiatives aimed to provide relief, recovery, and reform to the American people. Isolationism versus interventionism. Initially, Roosevelt faced challenges in shifting the United States from a policy of isolationism to one of intervention in World War II. However, he gradually increased support for the Allies through measures such as the Lend-Lease Act, which provided aid to countries fighting against the Axis powers. Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, changed the course of American involvement in the war. Roosevelt's leadership following the attack led to a swift declaration of war against Japan and, subsequently, against Germany and Italy. War leadership. Roosevelt served as the commander-in-chief during most of World War II. He worked closely with Allied leaders, including Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin, to coordinate military strategy and shape the direction of the war effort. Homefront leadership. On the home front, Roosevelt oversaw the mobilization of the American economy for war production. He also implemented various domestic policies to support the war effort, including rationing and price controls. Legacy. Roosevelt's leadership during World War II and his efforts to combat the Great Depression have solidified his legacy as one of the most influential presidents in U.S. history. His presidency transformed the role of the federal government and laid the foundation for the United States' emergence as a global superpower. Also known as Il Duce, Mussolini was the first fascist dictator. He came to power in 1922 using mob tactics and violent threats, preaching strength and national pride. Though Mussolini improved the infrastructure of roads, rebuilt the economy, and improved Italy's status as a power, he was still a totalitarian. Mussolini banned political parties, labor unions, or anything seen as a threat by his party, the Black Shirts. By the late 1930s, his fascist party became anti-Semitic, like the Nazis. Jews were banned from jobs or imprisoned. Benito Mussolini, Italy. Mussolini was the fascist dictator of Italy and a key Axis leader. His alliance with Hitler and his aggressive policies in Europe and North Africa contributed to the Axis powers' early successes in the war. Rise to power. Mussolini rose to power in Italy in the early 1920s, founding the Fascist Party and establishing himself as the country's leader. He capitalized on widespread social and economic discontent to promote his authoritarian and nationalist agenda. Fascist ideology. Mussolini's ideology of fascism emphasized ultranationalism, authoritarianism, and the supremacy of the state. He sought to revive Italy's imperial glory and establish a new Roman Empire. Alliance with Nazi Germany. Mussolini formed close ties with Adolf Hitler's Germany, and Italy became a key Axis power alongside Germany and Japan. Mussolini's alignment with Nazi Germany would shape Italy's foreign policy and lead to its involvement in World War II. Invasion of Ethiopia. In 1935, Mussolini ordered the invasion of Ethiopia, Abyssinia, in an attempt to expand Italy's colonial empire. The brutal campaign resulted in international condemnation, but also showcased Italy's military prowess under Mussolini's leadership. Entry into World War II. Italy entered World War II in June 1940, following the signing of the Pact of Steel with Nazi Germany. Mussolini hoped to capitalize on Germany's early successes, but ultimately faced significant military setbacks and defeats. Fall from power. As the war turned against the Axis powers, Mussolini's regime faced mounting challenges and popular discontent. In 1943, he was ousted from power following the Allied invasion of Italy and the collapse of his government. Mussolini was briefly reinstated as the leader of the Italian Social Republic, a German puppet state, but was captured and executed by Italian partisans in 1945. Legacy. Mussolini's legacy is highly controversial. While he implemented significant infrastructure projects and social reforms during his rule, his authoritarianism, expansionism, and alliance with Nazi Germany led to widespread suffering and devastation. Mussolini's regime remains a dark chapter in Italian history, and his actions continue to be scrutinized and debated by historians and scholars. Few dictators are infamous as Stalin, the Soviet leader. Stalin took control of the Soviet Union in 1924, only passing away in 1953. His brutality helped the Soviet Union survive the war through rapid industrialization, total disregard for life, and severe political repression. He was usually inflexible but could compromise, like the non-aggression Molotov-Ribbentrop Agreement with Germany to avoid war. Joseph Stalin was the leader of the Soviet Union during World War II and played a crucial role in shaping the course of the conflict. Rise to power. Stalin rose to power after the death of Vladimir Lenin in 1924. He gradually consolidated his control over the Soviet government and Communist Party through political maneuvering and purges of his rivals. Totalitarian rule. Stalin implemented a policy of totalitarianism, establishing a cult of personality and exerting absolute control over all aspects of Soviet society. His regime was marked by repression, political purges, and mass executions. 5-year plans. Stalin's economic policies included the implementation of a series of 5-year plans aimed at industrializing the Soviet Union and collectivizing agriculture. These plans resulted in rapid industrial growth, but also caused widespread suffering and famine. Non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany. In August 1939, Stalin signed a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. This agreement included a secret protocol dividing Eastern Europe into spheres of influence between the two powers. Invasion of the Soviet Union. Despite the non-aggression pact, Hitler's Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, initiating Operation Barbarossa. Stalin's leadership during the early stages of the invasion was marked by initial setbacks and widespread panic, but he eventually rallied the Soviet people and military to resist the German advance. Turning point. The Soviet victory at the Battle of Stalingrad in 1943 marked a turning point in the war on the Eastern Front. Stalin's leadership and the Soviet Union's ability to withstand the German onslaught played a decisive role in the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. Yalta and Potsdam Conferences. Stalin participated in the Yalta and Potsdam Conferences alongside Allied leaders Franklin D. Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. These conferences determined the post-war order and the division of Europe. Legacy. Stalin's rule had a profound impact on the Soviet Union and the world. While he played a crucial role in defeating Nazi Germany, his regime was also responsible for widespread repression, human rights abuses, and mass atrocities. Stalin's legacy remains highly controversial, with debates about his achievements and crimes continuing to this day. Emperor Hirohito, also known as Emperor Showa, was the 124th Emperor of Japan and reigned during World War II. Reign. Emperor Hirohito ascended the throne in 1926 following the death of his father, Emperor Taisho. He ruled as Emperor of Japan until his death in 1989, making him one of the longest reigning monarchs in Japanese history. Constitutional monarchy. During Hirohito's reign, Japan functioned as a constitutional monarchy, with the emperor serving as a ceremonial figurehead, while political power was held by elected officials and the military. Military expansionism. Hirohito's reign coincided with Japan's period of aggressive military expansionism in the 1930s and 1940s. Under his rule, Japan pursued a policy of territorial expansion in East Asia, leading to conflicts with China, the United States, and other allied powers. World War II. Hirohito played a symbolic role as the head of state during World War II. While he did not hold direct political power, he was aware of and involved in Japan's military actions. His role in the decision-making process regarding the war remains a subject of historical debate. Surrender and post-war era. Following Japan's defeat in World War II, Hirohito made a historic radio broadcast announcing Japan's surrender to the Allied powers in August 1945. After the war, Hirohito cooperated with the Allied occupation authorities in Japan's post-war reconstruction and democratization efforts. Constitutional reforms. Hirohito's reign saw significant constitutional reforms in Japan. The post-war Constitution of Japan, promulgated in 1947, reduced the emperor's role to that of a symbolic figurehead and established Japan as a parliamentary democracy. Legacy. Hirohito's reign spanned a tumultuous period in Japanese history, including Japan's rise as a military power, its defeat and occupation following World War II, and its subsequent economic recovery and transformation into a modern, industrialized nation. His reign and legacy continue to be a subject of study and debate in Japan and internationally. Thank you for listening so far. You can support by subscribing to our channel for the continuation of these videos. Stay with love.